This is Near Enough to Hell, a Ghost of El Paso story, part 15. This will be a bit of a shorter session. We're a little pressed for time today, and so we're mostly just going to devote our time to getting through the upcoming night phase. Let's take a look at our hunters and review the current state of our threats, as well as like in broad strokes where we're at in the campaign, since we're coming pretty close to a major milestone. But taking a look at our hunters. The lost Mother Ruth Calvo is most beloved and with no other conditions. Congratulations, you finally cleared Pious last session. But Mother Ruth Calvo only has 3 masks left, I believe. Yeah, that's interesting. The inevitable Graves, as always, Death Touch, and you left the dead alone from your time in Clear Springs. You have... Wow, you have like 6 masks left. Good job, Graves. No, like 7 masks. Oh my god, wild. And the Marshal Andrew Harrington from the original posse has arm in a sling. That's right, because you got some damage done to you, but it was tended by Doc Albers, so he shifted your condition into a new territory. The Marshal has 5 masks left. Okay, not too bad. And then we have a new addition to the Vigilance Committee, a familiar face, but Daniel's new character, playing the side character Diamond Dave McMahan as the Bootstrapper playbook, has the condition on my best behavior. And you are replete with masks, so you're completely fine. Last session, we explored a day phase that took place sometime after the events as witnessed at Clear Springs. We introduced a new threat, the Ghost Riders of Sawtooth Ridge, a trio of deceased Texas Rangers who were killed in a canyon massacre a year ago, and their 4th member, a man Jimmy Pike, disappeared, and they have returned, and they are wanting to find and kill Jimmy Pike. So that whole threat is trying to figure out why they want him dead. Because is he an innocent man? Or do they have a justifiable reason to see him dead? I guess we'll find out. The other active threat we have is the grieving town of Clear Springs, which in the fiction has been several days since Mother Ruth and Graves were there. So we might touch a little bit on that, since we didn't actually explore much of it at all last time. So we'll see what happens during this upcoming night phase. And of course, Marshal Harrington has the special side threat, the strange case of Bartholomew Graves, trying to figure out who was responsible for shooting the host body of the inevitable. Most curious indeed. I want to adopt a technique I've been seeing used from another member in the community over on the Discord. It's Elle. And in her games at the start of sessions, she actually has started making a habit, as long as I've noticed, of asking each player, each character, I should say, to be like, recap what happened to you last time. And I kind of like that, since it kind of gets everyone in their character's head. So we're gonna employ that now. We touched a little bit on it now, just an overview with conditions and masks and such like. But I do like hearing from the individual players, especially because you can spin it how you want. So in character keeper order, Wes, would you care to recap what happened with Mother Ruth Calvo previously?
Going to Sawtooth Ridge, or making her way around the town, with her followers. Mother Ruth Calvo decided to make a stop off near the Shields homestead, which is near Sawtooth Ridge. It's the
No, it's
outskirts
on
of
the
town,
edge of
right?
town. It's on the outskirts.
Oh,
Okay,
okay.
Sawtooth Ridge is like
Far
up
on
in
out.
the hills. Yeah, it's up in the
Okay.
hills and stuff like
Okay.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Up there yonder. Okay. But Mother Calvo stopped at Shields home, which is on the edge of town, the outskirts of El Paso, to make a drop off of some food. You know, a nice little donation from the First Reformed Church of El Paso. You know, we're doing what we can for these good folk. Many of the Reformed members would not step on the property, the Shields property, making notes that it might be evil or some such. So Mother Ruth was like, okay, well, we're here to do good work, so I'm going to go do that good work. That was the last little bit of a push over the edge to get her away from the pious condition, which means that old Ruth is back, or I guess new Ruth. old Ruth was back for a little bit, but now new and improved Ruth. By seeing herself and like wanting for like to have that kind of family life. Not only does she like seeing this, but also thinking about the Wilson family, the Mormons that she lived with for a long time, and that's still like where a lot of her things are. That's why she sleeps in the church most of the time, is to get away from them. But it pushed her back away from piousness, and now she's letting loose of the collar a little bit, so to speak. Which brought her into this conversation with Miss Shields, where Miss Shields really laid down the fact that these writers, these ghost writers and everything, are in fact not a bother. They're actually like quite welcome on her property. She finds them to be neighborly almost. She has almost like a matronly cover for them, or like a care for them. Might have something to do with the fact of like her relationship with her parents or her brother or anything like that. We don't know. Let's explore it. I'm theorizing on some things. But she has an affection for these guys. And so Mother Ruth was like, okay, you're kind of lonely. I'm kind of lonely. Why don't I just start shacking up out here on these ghost riders when they're not out hooting and hollering and riding around the town? But you know, maybe it could be a multi-purpose visit. We'll see. We'll see how that turns out. But then Mother Calvo went to go talk to these fellas, and in their own very ghastly, disjointed, amusement park animatronic style ghost mannerisms, keep forgetting, like short-term memory loss, creepiness, which star for that scene again as well, just because that uneasiness with those guys was really good. Learned a little bit more about their relationship with this Jimmy, Jimmy Pike, James Pike, and started kind of learning a little bit about their history with them and the fact that he's a coward and everything. And so that might have something to do with why they want him. So getting a little bit of background information so that we can act on that in the future, and maybe a little bit more. But she left the scene there, and now debating where to go next, I believe was the call. Unless I actually made a set decision. I cannot remember. I've got my own short-term memory loss.
Awesome. B, tell us about Graves.
Graves made a deal with Miss Edwards, the reporter. I'm gonna get some details about the stuff going on at Sawtooth Ridge in exchange for any information being the first to know about anything going on with the Ghost Riders or frankly anything else. We're just kind of, we're buds. We're buds. It's fine. This is a fine thing, and I have not told any of my compatriots yet because it hasn't seemed relevant. Well, I will eventually, but I'm trying to round up everyone to go to Sawtooth Ridge with me. Me and Andrew Harrington had a very interesting conversation. Very interesting conversation. And I'm sure it's fine. And I believe we ended up back at Diamond Dave's place uh, to try to get Dave, our newest member, to come ride out with us. I don't know if Mother Ruth is going to come ride out with us. I can't remember if she's around to try to wrangle.
Part of what we'll figure out in the dusk phase, I'm sure.
Yeah, but that's generally the long and short of it. We're trying to go out to Sawtooth Ridge to see what's actually going on out there because supposedly there's another reporter out there trying to get the scoop, and that's like the onus. Miss Edwards is like, oh, if you can get it before this person, I'll answer any questions you have. So
Interesting. Very good. Hell yeah. Daniel, new committee member. Tell us about your recap for Diamond Dave.
It was basically Dave at the cantina talking with powerful women on both ends of that power, you know, the factions. Lady Antonia Hargrave, who seems to be his benefactor, and Isabella Reynolds, who also seems to be his benefactor. So basically that's where we saw Diamond Dave between those two powerful women.
and Andrew Harrington.
Well, I went to the doctor's to
Mhm.
get my arm checked out. I got poked at repeatedly and saying, "Oh, does this hurt?" And of course, it did hurt. And like I was just like, "Oh, aren't aren't you just a terrible person?" And it's just like, well, compared to everyone else, I'm normal. uh, then I had a conversation with Graves, of just like, "Hey, why the fuck are you so weird?" And we still don't really have an answer because like Graves continues to talk about death all the
Mhm.
time.
Mhm.
However, I think I may have figured out who shot Bartholomew Graves.
Oh, we'll get to that momentarily then. Very tasty. So we left off at the start of the dawn phase. For any playbook moves that trigger during the dawn phase, if there are custom moves, I don't believe any of the custom moves on the table have anything to do with the dusk phase. I mean, not the dawn phase. Oh, yes, Daniel?
Yeah, I have one.
Oh, you have a move that triggers during the dusk?
Yeah.
What is it?
It is my primary move, the saloon, and I get this. It says that you spend a lot of time pouring drinks, listening to gossip, keeping staff accountable. And it does. I get to pick one. I can
Okay.
make something interesting about a threat that may be a clue, or I can gain something that somebody left behind, like as a tip or as a patron. Say what it is and give it to another hunter, and add it to their personal quarters. And I was looking over at people's personal items. Mother Ruth needs some love, and so Diamond Dave collects a pretty plain crucifix that has a concealed switchblade in it. It's like a 6-inch switchblade. This is also to commemorate getting out of Pius.
Love it. We also have the Marshal. Are you going to trigger the assembly?
Well, no, because like I believe last time it was discussed that we all would take a little field trip outside of town, so
Okay, so not this phase. All right, that's all good. Let's paint the scene about the Wounded Knight. The Wounded Knight question I'm going to pick for this is the Campfire Tales in El Paso, currently highlighted on our list. During the season of the Wounded Knight, you'd have to be duller than a bag of hammers to try and tell a ghost story at the fire. What stories are substituted in for evening entertainment?
Outlaw stories is one of them. No ghosts, very few murders. It's almost like Robin Hood-esque. These robbing trains, sort of saving people from danger, but still kind of being gunslinging outlaws. It feels lighthearted compared to the ghosts sort of looming at the campfire.
I'm gonna say that they tell stories that start with they all start with people back east are so dumb, and then it's a story about something that some foolhardy greenhorn did.
There is a guy that's come to town that is he calls himself a curator of stories. He's collecting a magazine. He's got and he's calling it True Western Magazine. Very real and absolutely not made up stories of the Wild West. And one of the stories that he keeps telling to people, almost like he's like, this is a good story and you should tell it to everybody. So I'm going to tell it all the time. It's about Marshal Atticus Creed, this old gunslinger that became a lawman that has been whipping the Wild West into shape, and how he's been following alongside him and everything. And so it's like he's almost trying to build this guy as a superhero almost.
going off of the story, outlaw stories, in comparison, the sort of stories about the lawmen around here is closer to just the local hot gossip about the affairs that they get up to, the sort of crimes that they commit in sort of the pursuit of justice. It's just all sorts of backwards here.
Very nice. Would anyone like to answer a question? We have a few possibilities out there if we wanted to tackle multiple. I mean, Chaotic, you inferred something. You're muted. Oh, there you go.
Yeah. I was not saying anything important.
Gotcha.
I was just getting to the tab. Yeah. All right. Here's the thing. It's not Grace was a murder in like a fit of passion or anything. This was a planned event. This was an assassination attempt. Graves has cost his family a lot of money. And well, they put out a hit on him with like the local like outlaw gang because they know that he has a habit of just taking nightly strolls and whatnot out in the desert just to like cool his heels because, well, frankly, with how much he's gambled, like some people are a little bit on the mad side with him. So like, if you're people, you won't get into fights if you're not around people. However, one of the reasons like I know it's an outlaw gang is because, well, since like he didn't die the first time, you would think that the assassins would try again. But the reason they didn't try again is because they are a superstitious lot. Because Graves has been talking about death so much that they consider that to be an ill omen.
Interesting. So, and where does it come into with the clue with them looking up at stars?
Just the sort of like saying like, well, where Graves got sort of was attempted on a kill because like they were like, we know where he's going to like.
Oh, where he stargazes.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So we're taking that clue, and it's not just like a present thing of like, oh, Graves just looks at the sky. It's like he's been known to like look up and like, okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. So he was just make sure I have that with those three clues. Mm-hmm. So he has family in town, but they haven't asked about him. So because he was so reckless and gambling mm-hmm. and cost his family a lot of money, his family basically paid off some outlaws to put him in the ground. Mm-hmm. My question is, just because I like it, I want to lean a little bit on you with this and ask, what is essentially like, because like the clue for him having the family and how they haven't asked about him is a good start for that.
Yeah.
I think it needs a little bit more context either on your side or just something to explain how you would know then, okay, so then they like paid for him to be killed versus just like disowned him. You know what I mean? Like,
that like, I think this is sort of like a sort of off-screen thing where Andrew Harrington like literally just talks to Graves' family members about like, hey, your cousin, your brother, or whatever, like he got shot and you still haven't talked to them. What's up with that? And I think like a lot of them were just like a little bit off-put about like me asking about it. So
gotcha. Understood. Yeah. Okay. I like it. Even though this is the Marshal's thread, anyone is welcome to pitch in if you have any different thoughts or I want to hear from the other hunters to see if there's anything they want to say about it.
I just think that it's really problematic how the town treats its goth citizens. And I just think that maybe there should be a conversation had about El Paso and their goth problem.
Is that right?
That's it. That's all I mean. I couldn't say. I mean, chaotic nailed it on. It's chaotic's thing, but like,
motherfucker,
nailed it on it. All I can just say is my piece, in my opinion. And I honestly feel bad for Bartholomew Graves.
Yeah, Yeah, there's always room for family and chaotic.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah,
Mhm.
always.
God,
All right. Well,
canon. It's all canon.
it's all
Chaotic,
canon.
you did great.
well, we're about to find out. You have 3 clues. It will be with a -1 on the answer.
Yeah. Oh God. So scared. Apparently I have no reason to be scared. 11 minus 1, that's a 10.
Your answer is correct. You have unlocked the opportunity to apprehend the culprit. And because it's a 10 plus, it'll be pretty straightforward. We'll kind of like leave it to narrative. Here's the thing. So I'm curious, is the culprit the outlaw, or is the culprit Graves's like family for like selling him out?
Well, because like again, like I think because like just generally it's a little bit hard to like get a hold on these gangs because they don't live in town. I think the culprit in this case is Grace's family.
Oh.
Very, very interesting. So that's available to be resolved at the time of your choosing. But if it's not resolved before the next mastermind clue comes, it'll still be lost, unfortunately.
Yes, unfortunately, because I think like they'll probably like just move out of town because they realize they've been caught.
Yeah, something like that.
They're headed for the Hooskow.
Do we want to answer any other questions tonight? You do have like 4 clues on the complexity 4 for Clear Springs, and technically you could answer the Ghost Riders with -2. Wes, you're getting pretty excited over there.
I've got a slam dunk for Clear Springs.
Oh, yeah?
And I've got it as like Mother Calvo's been thinking about those ghosts on the ridge and how they're acting in comparison to the town of Clear Springs. And I have a way for all 3 of this to fit.
Okay, so before you say anything, just real quick to recap for everyone, including listeners. The threshold question on Clear Springs, the grieving town of Clear Springs, is the town in denial of its loss, or is it bargaining with the river, offering up new lives to it in order to be restored to life itself? And we have 4 clues. That the fact that like various people, I think of various figures around town, were standing with their heads down. A reflection in a mirror shows the room underwater. 6 unmarked graves near the font of the springs, and also that the river was capable of mimicking the dead. Those are the 4 clues you guys found for it previously.
So I've got a way to tie 3 of these things in. The 4th one I'm going to need help getting across the finish line with, but it's a relay race. So I think we got it. But and I'm not going to pretend like I came up with this all by myself. Me and Bran have been rewatching. I've been rewatching, and Bran's been watching the X-Files for the first time. And we got to the infamous episode Genderbender in season 1. And I think that there's something similar happening here. I think that the grieving town of Clear Springs has been going through hard times recently. They've been going through hard times, Daddy. It's been poor agriculturally for them. Things of that are like at one point was going through hard times, and they developed something. It was affecting their ability to to keep the town going, losing people dying at all times and stuff like that. So I think they've developed a method where they think that they can keep the town going without having to worry about resources. And it's using instead of copulating and making more offspring to fill the town with, because babies get hungry, babies need food, all this kind of stuff like that. They are using the river to bring back their town citizens from the dead, essentially. So the saloon owner dies. Instead of the saloon closing or going to his next of kin because he doesn't have a next of kin, we just bring the saloon owner back to life. We're essentially moving through the town of from moving past grieving. We're finding a way to live in the Wild West even when hardship comes around by removing the need for food or water. We just keep going. It's just going to be a ghost town. It's just going, instead of like a dead town ghost town, it's just going to be a ghost town. Where they can just live their unlives forever and ever. By utilizing that the river is capable of making the undead. The 6 unmarked graves near the font of the springs is the town cemetery. That's the thing, is like we've never went to the town cemetery thing, because that's the town cemetery. There are only ever been 6 people that have died, ever. the rest of the town have been brought back to life with this mimicking of the dead and everything like that.
Okay.
And so they leave those 6 unmarked graves as a reminder of what the town was before and what they're moving past. It's an unliving reminder. It's an undead reminder, essentially, of like these are people. We're also not going to give them names. We're not going to give them anything like that because we need to remember them as a symbol. They have surpassed becoming a person or anything. They are the very ideal that this town of Clear Springs is becoming. They stand with heads down. That's just the function of the ritual that they're doing with the mimicking of the dead. It involves the people of the town. We saw it that night when we came in, where the people of the town are standing with their heads down, and we were like interacting it, and we're like, oh, they're all ghosts and everything. Well, yeah, because some of the townsfolk that are there are also have their heads down. I know, buddy. Well, sorry, my dog whined. But like, so that like the fact is that like that is just the very simple part of the ritual is they have to bring themselves to the river and stand there silent with their heads down like they're the dead, as like it is welcoming the dead back from the river almost. That is maybe a heady way to approach it. I don't know. I think it's pretty followable though. I just can't figure out the reflection of the mirror showing the room underwater.
Oh, I
Yeah,
know.
I got one too. What do you got, Chaotic?
It's the reflection of the truth because since there is no living quote unquote members of the town, the entire town is underwater effectively. Like that's where all the bodies are properly at.
And it was destroyed by flood anyways.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That might
Yeah.
have been what triggered the rebuilding.
Yeah.
Absolutely. This
Yeah.
is like I was on the same page as y'all. Like
That might have
got
been the
destroyed by a
inception of
flood.
like them discovering how
Mhm.
the river could bring dead people back to life is like it's the yeah.
The river's actually its own sort of like entity almost. Like it's in charge of this whole thing. They just think they're in charge.
Could just be an offshoot of the River Styx, brother. That's we don't know yet. Well, you know, but the Mississippi has many rivers that come off of it, you know, and so
Many tributaries.
many tributaries.
So what we're saying here is that the town is bargaining with the river.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. That's the answer
100%.
that we're going for
Yeah.
the threshold, essentially. Yeah.
Okay. Just making sure I got this straight, and then anyone else
Mhm.
chime in. So okay, so they're standing with their heads down. That's part of this like ritual that involves like because you know they are
Mhm.
it's part of this whole like ritual process. Okay. The reflection in the mirror. Yep, as B and Daniel just threw out there. So these 6 unmarked graves near the Font of the Springs. So there are 6 people who died that are not among those who have been returning.
Yeah.
Like,
Even with the flood and everything.
and they're
Yeah.
perma-dead. Okay.
Yeah.
So, and they're buried near the font of the spring. So and that's commemorative. It's very literally part of their overall like, you know, means of
It's like an altar almost.
it's like an altar almost. Yeah, I
Yeah.
getcha. And then the fact that the river is capable of mimicking the dead just speaks to the fact that it's basically like it is an explaining force of like it's mimicking, but it's not necessarily, you know, like that's not necessarily a thing that they know or care about, but that definitely plays into a lot of
Mhm.
like it's a facsimile as opposed to like a real like spiritual thing. Any other thoughts on that?
Perfect. Yeah.
No, I'm into it. I think that's a good case for setting up that the town is bargaining to be restored somehow, even if it's with mimicry. Go ahead and roll flat, Mother Ruth.
Fuck. See, now that's the hard part. Now you got me actually like rolling the dice, and I'm like, seems kind of toxic to me.
Mhm.
Let me use these little ghosty river dice right here. Got a little bit of red in them too for blood. Okay, not bad, not awful. It is an 8. 6 + 2.
Okay,
It could have been bad.
Well, that does get through the threshold question. Make note. And let's see. On an 8, so obviously pursuing the opportunity is not a thing here because you just unlock the next question. I'm going to think about what an unwelcome complication might be here, but the next question you guys have unlocked is how can it be stopped from harming the living? It is a complexity 4. And if you answer that, you can resolve the threat by taking coercive or violent action to put the town to rest permanently.
Isn't it a
Also, it unlocks the aspect of the Janus mask.
It did. You now have a special Janus mask available for this threat. It is the Mask of Bargaining, which is single use as usual. For that one is each hunter narrates a flashback to a time when they tried to beg or bargain away a hard, inevitable truth. I'm gonna add that real quick. All right.
damn?
I'm gonna think on what that unwelcome complications of the theory might be, just because before we resolve the dusk phase, I'll kind of like tell you, because if you decide to bump it up with masks, absolutely a thing we can talk about. But for now, I love it. And I assume y'all are gonna hold on to Ghost Riders for a little bit because you only have 2 clues for that one. Okay.
Yeah.
Very good. Well, we covered some fucking ground there. We're gonna
And not a mastermind clue in sight. Ka-chow.
right, ka-chow, yet. All right, going around the table here. I'll do reverse character keeper order this time. Andrew Harrington, what will you be doing during the upcoming night phase?
I will be going off to the fort. Perhaps I may split off with the group to try to figure out what's going on with the Ghost Riders, because like that's a problem.
Very good. Diamond Dave.
Were we not going to try to arrest the folks the family of Bartholomew Graves?
I mean, we could.
I think
hold on. Adhere to the ritual first. Everyone goes, and then we revise. So we have Andrews, Daniel for Diamond Dave.
Diamond Dave, it's Friday night. Friday night means dance. So I've got my Friday night background. So he's planning on being at the Red Rock Cantina and Dancehall, but if he needs to make an arrest as a Vigilance Committee member and probably have a deputy badge somewhere, he can do that. I can arrest some of the Graves family here because it's the whole town's coming for Friday night at the Red Rock Cantina Dancehall.
Graves.
Arrest my family. Okay. I'm gonna try to rally up some of my crew to go to Sawtooth Ridge with me. I guess we'll see if they show up or not. But a promise is a promise. And death makes a deal. Death makes a deal.
You mean Fort Bliss?
Fort Bliss. My bad. Fort Bliss. Wherever Miss Andrews told me to go.
Mm-hmm.
Wherever she said.
Understood. And Mother Ruth.
Yeah, as much as partaking in some good old-fashioned PMW down at Diamond Dave's Red Rock Cantina, as much as Mother Ruth would love to just put on a disguise and see what's going on down there, sticking with the... I like to imagine like Mother Ruth showed up at the cantina when you were all talking and like heard about riding out to Fort Bliss, and Mother Ruth's like, "Oh, this has something to do with the Ghost Boys on that hot lady's property." Okay, so let's go ahead and let's stick to it, adhere to that. I need to go and make sure that no harm comes to these ghosts to uphold the promise that I made, and also that gets me out of town, away from my church. So that means I can drink a little bit. So I'm going to do that now.
Any revisions? Nope. Go ahead.
In terms of revisions, I just find it very funny to deputize Diamond Dave. So I think even though I do not have the move deputize, I think I still have the power to deputize.
Fictionally, yeah.
Fictionally, and I really want to deputize Diamond Dave. So Deputy Dave, We're gonna go arrest some people.
Are you going with him or are you just deputizing him?
I'm going with him.
Revising. Okay, gotcha. So no, not Fort Bliss. All right. Any other revisions? Wes, you had a face.
I was going to say, in case of the revisions, if they need it, Mother Ruth will instead go with not to participate in the arrest because she is a willful. She believes in willful civil disobedience. But will be there as anybody to give final rights for anybody that needs it. Of like if things get out of hand, let me go ahead and do a little bit of some, let me do the business before, why wait? Get it taken care of. If they need that. If they don't need that, then I'll keep going to Fort Bliss with Graves. If Graves goes to Fort Bliss, if Graves doesn't go to Fort Bliss and goes with the Vigilance Committee, then I'll.
And Diamond Dave is sending Flapjack as a backup for Graves.
Thank you. I just would love to ask a question. Did any of you tell Graves that you're gonna go arrest his family?
No, probably not.
Because that's like so integral
Come up.
to me knowing whether I'm gonna show up or because I don't give a shit about.
He didn't really talk about him anyways.
Yeah, I mean, I have Graves does not give two shits about the law. And if you're like, I think he'd be like, why are you staying? Like. And if you're vague about it, like, I don't think he would press. I think he'd just be like, what the fuck ever.
It's Friday night.
True. Well, yeah, Damon. Okay, Dave. Yeah, that's fine. Whatever. Like, so that would be my question. Because if you tell him, he may stay. But if you didn't, if you didn't say a word about it, we're not going to be around for that.
Then I'm going to Fort Bliss.
Okay.
If it was the entirety of the Vigilance Committee, then Mother Ruth would show up as like support and to do her duty. But if it's just these two, if it's just Triple D and fucking Andrew, what's the worst that could happen?
Where's the third D from?
Deputy Diamond Dave.
Oh, Deputy Diamond. Oh, that's fair. That's a good point. Yeah.
We got alliteration like Stan Lee up in this joint.
Yeah, fair. All right, so just to clarify, make sure I got everyone's revisions correct. Harrington is arresting Graves' family with the help of Deputy Diamond Dave. Diamond Dave, in addition, are you focusing entirely on that, or were you also saying there's the Friday?
No, he's also the whole plan is to try to get information about the Ghost Riders of Sawtooth Ridge and Jimmy Pike. So there's a chance for that mastermind clue.
Okay, so but are you still at the Red Rock? Is what I'm asking. Okay, so gotcha.
If he doesn't get distracted by PMW. I'll tell you what PMW is later.
All right. And then we have Graves and Ruth going to Fort Bliss. Awesome. Do we have any outstanding Janice mask prompts that haven't been resolved yet? I don't believe so. Okay. Then what I'm going to do here is introduce our unseen, and then we'll take a break for everyone to think about their prompts and for me to think about the upcoming phase. Let's take a look here. I think tonight, there's a few good ones here. I always trying to think of one that I particularly am interested in. Let's do we'll do the front desk of the Crown Point Hotel. The first prompt is a paint the scene for everyone. The second one will be for B. Third for chaotic. And then fourth will go to Daniel. All right, let's take a 10-minute break. All right, we are back. Let us begin the night phase first with the unseen, the front desk of the Crown Point Hotel. Francis works the night shift on the front desk of the Grand Crown Point Hotel in San Antonio. He checks guests in, answers general questions about San Antonio, and keeps the front foyer tidy. let's paint the scene. The front foyer has blue and gold striped wallpaper and 2 sitting areas. Describe the immaculate furniture and items on display that Francis has little respect for.
There is a sort of a table that is kept between a couple of chairs that has this pristine looking teapot that is never used for tea. And every day that he passes by it, he just wants to just shove it onto the floor.
There's a very ornate picture frame. It's gold and has a lot of like leaves and it's way more elaborate than the painting. The painting is of the current governor, Orland Roberts, and he's got like a long white beard, and he's got like this look in his eye, like he's seen some things. But it's current governor, and it's in a prominent location, and it's the frame looks way more ostentatious than the actual painting.
There is a immaculately crafted rug from Turkey that was sent directly here. It is a very important rug that very much to show the status of this hotel. That instead of when he goes out for his smoke breaks, just tossing his cigarette butts off into the street or stomping on them on the front porch, he actively waits until he goes back inside and drops them on it.
There's a vase just on the front desk that he has to constantly replace the flowers in. He hates it. He hates it. He hates it. He hates cleaning it. He hates dusting it. He hates finding flowers for it. And he really hopes someday that a customer accidentally knocks it off, the same way he kind of hopes they do that with the teapot.
We begin first indoors in the bustling, lively atmosphere of the Red Rock Cantina and Dancehall. Indeed, it's a Friday night. It is lively. The regulars and folks alike are here to partake in either one of the businesses, either enjoying the shows in the dance hall or partaking of much drink, chatter, and other similar company in the cantina. Amidst the crowds and the noise, where do we find the proprietor, Diamond Dave?
He's up on the staircase, kind of above the fray. Every once in a while, he's talking to the
So you're in the
staff.
dance hall.
Yeah, he's in the dance hall.
Gotcha.
He's on the dance hall side, and he's up on the staircase, and he's looking over. And every once in a while, like a staff member will come up and he'll sign something. And but he's keeping his eye on the crowd. And he's waving at people, and he's doing a lot of that. But he's keeping an eye out because he knows the Graves family, and he's looking for Graves' dad and brothers who usually come here on Friday nights. So he's keeping an eye out for them. And he has a staff like asking around about the Ghost Riders and Texas Rangers and in general.
Mm-hmm. Yes, you're up here by the stairs, and as you're surveilling the crowds, Lola sidles up to you. She is not looking directly at you, just approaches and stands at your side, looking out over the crowds as well. There is a hardness in her surprisingly youthful face. She's usually very stiff and measured in her movements, but there's an even more so present tension in there tonight as she leans up against the little the railing, and she just looks, doesn't say anything, but you can feel the tension between the two of you. What do you do?
I say, now, Lola, you got to keep your eyes on the prize, because once the railroad gets here, we've already agreed you're going to get your own dance hall. We're going to make it happen. It'll be right there at the railhead, and it'll be bigger somehow. I think it'll be bigger than the Red Rock Cantina, and it'll be your own place. Come on, buck up.
She just slowly, after a moment, nods stiffly, and doesn't say another word. Meanwhile, outside of El Paso proper, Graves and Mother Ruth are heading towards Fort Bliss, also known as Garrison Town. You're not quite there yet, but accompanying you, as Daniel mentioned, Dave sent Flapjack Houlihan, the cook from the cantina. He has very elaborate facial hair. What do we think this means?
Extremely sharply pointed and greased mustache. Like those, like it's on the levels of those like beard and mustache competitors. It's like very Robotnik in its buxomness of a mustache.
And I'd say his beard is really long, and so he has to like get it out of the way. So it's like swept off to the sides.
I love it. Not everyone has contributed, but if you have an idea, please throw it out there.
He's got braid. No, kidding.
Awesome.
Just a pocket comb, just every so often, just takes it out to brush, just to keep it under control.
That fits well with the fact that he's kind of a twitchy guy.
So he's
he
the
also,
cook?
Yeah, he's the cook. He also does. He also is missing one of his hands. But he was sent by Diamond Dave to accompany you out to Fort Bliss, it seems. How are the two of you traveling from El Paso to Fort Bliss?
Individual horses or a cart?
I mean, my thought was individual horses, unless Mother Ruth wanted to do a cart.
Nah, let's do individual horses.
We're horseback riding.
Yeah. She knows how to do that. Yeah,
She's a
I think,
lady.
and also this, yeah, and then also this cook Flapjack is just also riding alongside us.
Like
That is the
this.
representative of now Deputy Diamond Dave.
Yeah, that's about right. I put a little too much of that coming in the dish that one time, and that's why I can't get any of them exotic spices brought from the east no more.
Did you say that you're the cook now?
Indeed, I am.
You said you'd had exotic spices from the east that you can't be using now.
Well,
Cuban.
apparently folks simply did not have the taste for it, and I did not use it in a way that people found palatable.
Answer me this question, Flapjack.
Yes,
You
ma'am.
made that really good chili.
Oh, I'm glad you remember. Yes,
Before
ma'am, I
you
did.
made that really good chili, you had your
Mhm.
hand. And you didn't have it afterwards.
I think it was a tangential incident.
I would be hoping so. Your first name Flapjack now.
I ma'am.
And your last name Nelson?
Houlihan.
Houlihan. All right now. Just gonna
Graves, when you ask for like if Flapjack is this person's first name, you kind of see him like flip through a book to see if Flapjack really is this dude's first name. Like, for real? Like, okay,
calm down with that flipping on you're doing back there.
I'm fine.
That little book there.
Don't
Yeah, you're
worry
not
about it.
discreet with it. You're not
No,
discreet with it with you and your book there.
I wasn't trying to be discreet. I was just simply not interrupting your conversation, your lively conversation with apparently our new member of the Vigilance Committee, Flapjack, not Dave.
Habit of beer.
So glad you're here.
And let's cut away. And then meanwhile, Harrington, are you also at the cantina or are you nearby?
I am also at the cantina,
Mm-hmm.
but I've got to do something, a shenanigan.
You're gonna do a shenanigan?
Yes, because I would like to be in disguise.
Okay.
Because like I don't because like again, like Diamond Dave, I think we had this conversation beforehand about like how like the Graves, like the most of the Graves family, at least the ones that are likely to been the one that actually hired the assassin would be here tonight. So but they can't know that I know what they know, so like I have to be someone that's relatively harmless, perhaps a little bit of a drunkard or so, specifically Del Sol.
You're gonna disguise yourself as Del Sol?
Yes.
Okay. How do you go about doing so?
Well, I do have this move
You
called
do.
the devil you know.
Okay.
I didn't read out of respect, and then I started reading it when you started bringing this up. And god damn it.
You do have this move.
Yeah.
Would you care to read it?
I would care to read it. When you take on the identity of someone else to fool others, roll with sensitivity. On a hit, you both choose one benefit from the list below. On a 10+, your charm knows no bounds. They cannot act to harm you until you do something to push away. Effectively, I can let's say shapeshift.
Indeed. Okay, I'm with it. So it has you say here that you roll with sensitivity.
Yep.
Your arm being in a sling would not hinder you here. So it's a flat roll plus 1.
Mhm.
Do you want to roll flat or do you want to use an item?
I don't think I can. I would like to use that
Okay.
item, so I'll just roll flat.
All right, go for it.
9 + 1, that's a 10.
Go ahead and be thinking about what benefit from the list you'll be choosing. But first, if you'd be so kind, describe what your transformation looks like, and once it has taken hold of you, what you do next.
Mm-hmm. I think we see a few moments before Andrew entered into the dance hall off to the side where he got some clothes that probably are a size a little bit too big, just sort of like his estimate of how Del Sol is. And he thinks about how he has these intricate sun tattoos across his arms, and just sort of imagines himself just being that way. And we see his face begin to shift and sort of change into this man that has been into his jail cell for so long, yet it seems to be almost no time at all. He hasn't seen him walking about in the streets, so it should be fine, right?
Back to the unseen. B. A rude late night arrival does not like the higher than normal room rates. What uncouth remark does Francis make to the customer that ultimately causes the customer to leave?
Francis just chewing. You know, if you don't like it, you can sleep outside. It's cheaper. The customer's like, excuse me, I have come all the way here from London. I'm not going to sleep outside. He's like, I don't care if you came from the other side of the world. I don't care if you came across town. And he's like spitting in a spittoon so near their feet. It is just like, she's just, you pay what you can. She's that. Or you leave. And disgusted, she just, and walks out.
Diamond Dave, your eyes are scanning over the crowd. You flag the familiar faces you were looking for. What do you do from atop your little observation point?
See, I see Graves' dad because he's got this stark white beard and like this dead eye stare, and I look over to one of the dance hall girls who's been like watching for me, and I kind of point at him, and then she I don't know her name's, I think, Eileen, and she like makes her way over to the senior Bartholomew Graves.
And what is your intention here? What is
She
gonna do?
danced with him and entertain him, make him feel like he's the king of the world.
Makes sense. Indeed, keep him heavily distracted. With you surveilling the scene, you can see her approach and indeed get him to dance, lost in the revelry. What is going through your head right now?
I am on my best behavior. I am making this. I am contributing to the team.
Indeed you are. Indeed you are. I think I'm going to ask for the day move to represent the layers of like what you've set up here with your employees to also help manage this scene. Day move, obviously, because you're the owner of this establishment, of course, and it's in your hands. What are you afraid of possibly going wrong here?
From her demeanor on the stairway, I'm afraid that Lola is going to somehow, through passive aggressive ways, make this not go as smoothly, so I don't look as good as I want to look. So therefore, I will use my stack of citations against Lola when she was a co-manager. I keep that in my breast pocket so that she does not, and maybe I even pat my breast pocket to let her know this is going to go smoothly.
I think this is going to be plus reason. For the sake of having put the plan together. I think, yes, you mark that for advantage, and I don't think being on your best behavior would stand in the way of this, so you do have the advantage.
5 and 2 4s, that gives me a 9.
A 9, very good. I will inform you how you are vulnerable, but we'll resolve that in the next scene here. Because while you're busy surveilling the crowds and making sure that this operation is running smoothly, someone else enters the building, a stumbling drunkard, but we'll get back to that in a moment. Outside of El Paso, though, Ruth, Graves, and Flapjack arrive at Fort Bliss, also known as Garrison Town. It has high adobe walls, heavy wooden doors. The barracks here are padded tight with wooden bunk beds, and there is a common room that doubles as an administrative office. Let's paint the scene. The fort is here to help defend against frontier threats, but the Wounded Knight is having its say. In what subtle ways have the soldiers adapted to the strangeness in and around El Paso?
There is a changing of the guard that outside of the Wounded Knight is all living humans, and there are some of their dead compatriots, maybe long dead, that come to change the guard with them, and they just sort of allow it to happen as long as they keep, the reporting structure the same.
I'm going to say they don't investigate anything that they see out there in the desert. Any strange lights or strange noises, they're just like, we'll check it in the morning.
If you were to peer into the barracks, you would see that every single bed has a dream catcher over it.
Again, sort of, it's not well maintained, but there has been an attempt to keep salt at the edges of door frames, of just making sure everyone who passes over is amongst the living. But however, it's just been spread across because people keep coming in and out of this place.
Upon your arrival at Fort Bliss, you were ushered in by the soldiers, and taken to the administrative building, where you now presently stand across from a gentleman with close cropped hair and a dark mustache, wearing a very crisp cavalry uniform. There was a impeccably like well-groomed and regal looking horse outside, like saddled with all of the trappings of some like officer's steed. But in your office, in this office, you are greeted and welcome to Fort Bliss by Sergeant Alex Callahan. And in your office, in his office, he says, the El Paso Vigilance Committee, eh? Welcome to Garrison Town, and I am certainly glad you're here. I don't know what these miners from the Tin and Mining Company expect me to do. Send the cavalry out to hunt ghosts. It's all a bit, it's a bit confounding, to say the least.
Well, they are your rangers, to be perfectly fair.
Well, yes, I do recall them from their time when they were alive. I escorted them during their work tracking Apache. But again, that was a year ago, and this is a very sudden development. I found myself being a bit unsure of how to handle this thing. I'm a man of logic and modern education, but I am unable to deny the strangeness of things I have seen. So I believe that better to be cautious than caught unprepared. And I've given such order to the rest of the soldiers here at Fort Bliss. I don't want any reactionary trigger fingers or rash actions happening. I understand your remit.
Is it just men here at the fort, or is there any women and folk around?
No, there's a few women. And also we have if you're just asking among the ranks of the garrison proper, yes, there are some women, but there is also some guests, some recent visitors who are women as well.
Just trying to understand what could cause such disruptions in logic and reasoning over the times of just trying to find sources of some discomfort. It seems that there is an issue between these rangers and another one of your sort.
Is that right? And he was seated for a little bit, but when he stands up, you realize just how short this man is. And he just is like pacing the room, hands clasped behind his back, in thought, and being like, if I remember correctly, that would be the James Pike, if I recall. Yes.
That's correct.
Yes. Went missing after that whole affair. Was not among the bodies of the Canyon Spring Massacre site.
There's typically the reason why people fall out with one another is one of three things, and it's but a bit of strange has got in between them, whether it's sex or otherwise. Bit of money issues, maybe some owed funds between one or another, or pride. That maybe the pride of one's failures caught up and something broke within the man. I would like to understand these men more. If I could find my way to their parts of the barracks, or if you had any of their gear still along with them, or if that was sent along to some families outside of the fort.
I am afraid, as I mentioned, ma'am, that it has been a year hence since the affair in Canyon Springs, and any of their belongings from the barracks have been sent back to people in their life, but also Texas Rangers are quite frequently on the move across this territory. Garrison Town was but one of many stops for them to acquaint themselves while they were tracking Apache, and I availed of them what I could. There was not much here of their personal affairs, and their residence at the barracks, short-lived as it was, has nothing significant left behind. That said, I am more than happy to potentially discuss any pertinent information that I might recall about them, or perhaps can speak among the fellow soldiery if you're interested in rumors, though I prefer to put stock in good old-fashioned ironclad confirmed facts.
Mayhaps you could put me not being the sort that deals with such militaristic endeavors. I might have a more fair sense of approaching civilians. Would you say that maybe, and I know how men of your vigorous status seem to like to take a load off when you visit different towns. Did any of these gentlemen have any girlfriends or anybody that's still around that they spent a lot of time with?
Go ahead and roll the information move, Mother Ruth. Plus presence.
Of course you are.
I am making eyes at him while saying it. Such vigorous.
Of course you
And while you're getting
Vigorous,
those
man.
dice together, what is Graves presently up to? I assume he is in the room.
Yes, I well, this is a fascinating
Mhm.
turn of events with Ruth.
Hmm.
I am looking around this place to try to ascertain any sort of information I can about this dude. And I assume he's the only one in here with us.
Yes, meeting the sergeant of the fort is meeting with you in his office. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just letting Ruth do her thing first. I'm not going to interrupt this fine woman's attempt at information gathering. I know what she's doing.
I went ahead. I'm going to go ahead and mark. You'll notice, I think maybe not for the first time, but maybe now you actually kind of realize after we've gotten done traveling, she's taken off her travel cloak that was very much draped over her. And this entire time, she's been wearing a very beautiful navy blue gown with some very like as she's like sitting a little bit and looking towards this man, I think Graves, you would notice that she's showing off stockings that are quite sheer that she's wearing. And I'm gonna mark
Whoa!
that beautiful blue navy blue gown and stockings to give myself advantage
Oh yeah, I'm not
uh
interrupting this shit at all. Graves
on
is
that row.
like look.
Well-
Graves gives you a fucking like elevator eyes. Like, oh shit.
Just to double check with Graves real quick though. So are you shifting away from your narrative of like scanning the room?
Yeah, actually, I think like
Yeah.
I scan the room and then get distracted by Mother Ruth
Yeah.
doing whatever the fuck she's doing. I think that
mm.
makes complete sense.
I'm into it.
I'm just asking questions, Graves. But yeah,
Bullshit.
I went ahead and I rolled a 5 and a 2. The other one was a 1. So that +2 brings it up to a 9.
Very good. Clue
Yeah.
with a complication. We'll come back to that. Inside the Red Rock Dancehall, though, a friendly drunk is stumbling around.
Of course.
Where do you go, Del Sol?
Well, I can see that some of those dancer girls, they're trying their best to distract the patriarch of the Grace family, but those brothers of that Grace fellow, well, they're currently left all by them lonesome. Might as well just have a nice little talk about the theological discussions about right things and wrong things and the ways that we relate to the entirety of the universe.
As you begin stumbling with purpose toward your destination, it is a very crowded room, many bodies pressing close to you, bumping up against you. So it is difficult to notice the sting when it comes first, as a needle gets pressed into you from an unseen assailant, and you are injected with a very numbing, heavily potent chemical of some kind, like a drug, like a muscle relaxant, like something to like make you weak and sleep. Someone is coming up behind you, and before I narrate anything further, there, it's going to be the night move. What are you afraid of happening here?
Oh, Harrington picked absolutely the worst person to imitate because whoever is like injecting me is intending to kidnap me.
It's not intending to kidnap you, is intending to kill you. And
Mhm.
This is going to be plus vitality.
Vitality. I will say, since I didn't get to pick the devil you know option yet.
Oh
that,
yes, okay, yes. I meant to ask you. Sorry, my bad.
I'm going to sort of pick the option to avoid trouble on the next roll. So
Oh, I see. I see. Very good.
I need to get the third die. Let's go. Okay. That's an 11
An 11 total.
total.
Very good. We'll come back to this. Meanwhile, in the unseen, chaotic, scanning the upcoming guest reservations, Francis's eyes widen when he sees a certain name in the book. What plans for petty revenge begin to form in Francis's mind?
The name itself doesn't really matter, but rather the person behind the name. Because the last time that this person was here, they ordered too much in terms of room service, in terms of various alcohol and whatnot. And then they came down to the lobby to quite literally just throw up onto the Persian rug. And that is why this Francis hates the Persian rug, because the smell could never quite get out. In terms of petty revenge, well, in case they order anything else again, well, alcohol doesn't have a pleasant taste to it, so it could always be switched out for various other liquids.
Mm-hmm.
Piss and the like.
Indeed. Up above the crowds of the dance hall, Diamond Dave, what did you get on your roll? Oh, sorry, the 7. Yeah, because I had to tell you how you were going to be vulnerable if you chose to back down or not. Yes, let me take a look at something real quick. I think that you have this plan, this everything kind of like moving with a like relative efficiency, right? The issue is that how do I phrase this? The way that you're handling this, obviously, you know, you're using a little bit of blackmail against Lola to keep things in check, is simply put, like the amount of zeal with which you're pursuing your goals here, and like in all the effort you're putting into it, there is some questioning, like, are your ambitions still in the place where you're telling us they are? Like, are you working towards something else? You're going to screw us over. So it's like there's discontent beginning to form because people, Lola especially, and your employees are beginning to wonder. It's like Dave's really like kind of done a 180 and is doing some like different decisions. Like, does he really have our best interest in mind? There's going to be some like spreading discontent among the staff.
We cannot have that.
No.
So I will. I'm going to use a mask to bump it up to 10 and to demonstrate that this is not Diamond Dave's first rodeo. This is just another day in the life.
What mask are you going to mark?
I think we should start some of those masks of the past so I can catch up with you guys.
Would you care to narrate any of these now, or do you want to wait?
Better wait.
Okay. You have a unique mask of the past compared to the other hunters. So we'll talk about that. Very good. Then that bumps up to a 10. So on a 10, you get to tell me what the scene looks like. Go ahead and just kind of like narrate all the things coming together in that way.
We see Lola go from stiff and rigid. She puts on a big smile, and she approaches the Graves brothers and brings them over to an important table, VIP table. and has you know, dance hall girls coming up and talking to him and bringing them drinks. That's what we see. And she looks like she's like, her face was like a stern mask, and it just like comes on, and it's showtime.
Mm-hmm. And all the while, I mean, like the suspect, as it were, the Graves Senior, is just having the time of his life and is having fun, is adequately distracted and right in the palm of your hand. So, and you don't even notice who approaches Andrew Harrington in his disguise and tries to inject him with something. But we'll get back to that in a moment. Mother Ruth, back at Fort Bliss, you got a clue with a complication. I'll give you the clue first. Sergeant Alex Callahan fetches a personnel file for you from his records, and pulls one up on all three of them, but of note, presents one about Captain Carl Vanderhorn, where there are some like writings in there about him having an opium addiction. Now, as for your complication, let me take a look at something real quick. I think the complication, if you're down for it, is simply that he's clearly like not just pliable from your little show. There's an expectation here where it's like he's kind of flirting back, he's kind of going back, maybe like putting a subtle hand on the knee or the shoulder, being a little overly polite, because tit for tat, he is now expecting, he says to you, it's like, we are very grateful for your insight and coming out here to help us with this. And admittedly, it is so very far away. We are both so close, yet so far away from El Paso. And I hardly ever get the time to visit myself. I often forget how lovely and kind you folks can be, hand on the thigh.
Would you do me a kindness? I feel like it's been a while since this camp has had any sort of cleanup, and show me the camp chapel. Mr. Graves, you can go ahead and tend to our horses. Maybe make sure that you and Flapjack take a look at the perimeter, correct?
Of course, that was the plan.
Lord's work needs to be doing. Isn't that right? Sir.
Graves, what do you do?
Graves just nods, just says, always the Lord's work, and gets Flapjack, kind of, pats him on the shoulder with a gloved hand to kind of like urge him out, like, come on, we have work to do. And I leave the office. Let these two do their thing. I know Mother Ruth's biz. I know her ways. I'm gonna go bother some soldiers, like the first ones I can find, about Jimmy Pike.
Well, as you're walking through the yard to approach some soldiers, you see a group of them hazing what looks to be a new recruit, making him drink water from a trough. But you're briefly interrupted because off to the side you hear someone muttering like, God, confound it all. And there's a little like cursing. You look over and there is not a soldier, a man who's like fiddling with a camera equipment, like the box camera, is like tripod out, is like cursing at it, has a few plates out, and is just going through various like belongings, and there's like a pack mule nearby, like pulling out like different supplies and stuff, and just looks like overwhelmed and overbeared and is kind of stressed out.
just walk up to him like I own the place, just sort of like I'm just like we're all supposed to be here. So, do you need assistance?
This man is dressed in brown trousers and a jacket. He's got a goatee, graying a little bit around the roots. And he looks up, sweat kind of like dappling his brow, even though the night air is a little bit cooler. It seems to be more the stress and exertion. He just says, sorry, what was that now? I didn't hear what you said.
Do you need assistance?
Do you know anything about cameras?
No, but my
Sorry.
friend here might. Looks over at Flapjack like,
Oh, I don't know a damn thing about cameras.
I'm pretty handy though, so maybe we can help a little. You look stressed.
Yeah, just a bit. Sure, be my guest. I'm not sure. Just be delicate. Be delicate. It's all very expensive equipment. Sorry, I'm not from around here. I'm having such trouble with my photographs lately. It's kind of the issue. Subjects seem blurred or disappeared entirely, and I'm thinking it must be overexposure, but I don't see how. It's. I'm trying to figure out the cause of it, but I can't. So, by all means, feel free.
I can tell you why. You won't like the answer, but I can tell you why.
He furrows his brow, looks a little bit at you, and says, "Oh, is that right now? Why is that?"
And points up at the blood red light coming down, just like every night. That's how it is here during the wounded night. Did no one tell you?
He gets a very uneasy look on his face and goes, I'm from San Antonio, sir. And I heard, though it's not my job to object, I follow my coworker for her job, and I point the camera where she tells me to point the camera. Truth be told, I do not want to be around any ghost business, but here we are.
You might want to leave if you don't want to be around ghost business.
Can't do that. Have to work. Have to point my camera where Mel tells me to, and, well, I hate to let her down.
Well, what are you and Mel investigating here, if not ghost business?
Well, Mel and I work for the San Antonio Times. And she's a wonderful reporter. We were stuck here. Well, she was stuck here, and I'm with her, of course. She was originally doing a puff piece on the brave men and women of Fort Bliss when she started to hear about the tale of vengeful ghost riders, and well, she's taken it and run with it. And, well, here I am. I gotta stick around. Gotta help her, of course. I would be more than happy to help her and her genius, but I don't do so well with the prospect of ghosts.
Have you seen any? Have you heard
Nope.
anything new about these ghost riders?
Go ahead and make the information move with presence.
Yes, absolutely. I feel like a shitty little fake reporter. There we go. Oh, no, wrong dice. We got dice. We got dice. We got dice. God, I use presence and I just need to stop doing that because I think I have like a minus in it or something. No, it's just a 0. That is a motherfucker. Okay, that's a 3 plus a 6. That's a 9.
Plus presence.
0.
So 9. Include the complication. I'll get back to you. Wes, are you with us, Mother Ruth?
Wes had to take the dog out.
Oh, no worries. Okay, we'll come back to that then. And then Harrington, we need to resolve your success. The narrative is yours, but before you narrate, I'm going to give you a little bit of structure here so you can go around it accordingly. Because the needle goes in and you are injected with something, a drug that begins to really take you out of it. Vision goes blurry. You start to feel numb, maybe a little sleepy, disoriented, and the sounds around you become a blur. and you hear a voice that coming from behind you as you feel the needle slip in, almost whisper to your ear saying, "You are most certainly not supposed to be here." And as the drug takes effect, you can turn around and see Lady Antonia up close with a very, from the outside, very casual, calm, pleasant smile, but her eyes are focused, hard, and very clearly taking this seriously. But you did get an 11, so you get to narrate what happens here.
Oh, that wasn't friendly there, man. Now, isn't it? Why do you think I don't belong here? I think you've mistaken me for someone else. Lots of folks do. But it doesn't mean that it's right to just sneak up on people and do all sorts of nefarious things. It's not just. Of course, what is justice is, in fact, just the cruelty of the world trying to maintain its fairness. As the ancient times say, biblical sort of stories where one brother murders another brother and then God casts him out. Why do you think I am who I am? Who do you think I am?
What's going on with the drug she injected you with? Like, like what's happening there? Like, what's the effect?
Harrington's sort of like is just trying his best to maintain his composure, but like you could see him sweating, the skin ever so slightly just sagging on down as the body is relaxing. He cannot afford to pass out here. He cannot afford to have his identity revealed. The town doesn't trust him as much as it used to do. And with that, well, they would kill him.
You levy this back at her, and there is a degree where her composure is briefly broken. There's an uncertainty, maybe even a bit of confusion or a hint of fear for a brief moment in her eyes. But all the same, clearly, this is not playing out the way she necessarily anticipated, and still very close to you. Almost like the two of you were dancing to any onlookers. She just whispers low, "I have extreme reasons to doubt that you are who you present yourself to be, and I take a great deal of trouble in this matter. If you are, as you imply, harmless, perhaps you and I should have a chat in the side room outside of prying ears."
Well, perhaps. But, well, I don't like giving out information for free. There's some criminals out and about, and I can't catch them like this. But you could. There's some matter with a family called Graves. The lots are a bunch of murderers. I want to catch them.
And I am not a lawman.
No, you're not. But trying times calls for desperate measures.
Have you considered calling the marshal?
As I said, I don't hand out information for free.
Now, as per your move,
Mm-hmm.
just because I'm reminding myself,
Yeah.
Your charm knows no bounds, and they cannot act to harm you until you do something to push them away. So, like, it truly, like,
Yeah.
it is like this, like she is enraptured, right? Like, in this sense, and she just goes. You can see that there's that like sense of like confusion and maybe like a little bit of uncertainty is now being replaced with like a brimming curiosity, almost like a little bit of excitement at the prospect of what's happening here, and she says, I know full well and certain that this face you wear is not you. But you've certainly painted an interesting picture now, haven't you?
Mhm.
What is it you want?
Ah. I want justice to be served out. I don't want the Graves to leave this building. I don't care how, but I just want them dealt with.
You want them dead, not arrested?
I want them dead because, well, an eye for an eye.
That doesn't seem like the law, the lawful thing to do now, does it?
No, it doesn't. Because that's not the what I intended to do, but, well, my head ain't quite on straight now, is it? You interfered. You caused this problem.
Here's the interesting thing I'm thinking of as a keeper.
Mm-hmm.
I'm questioning if that qualifies for actually resolving the situation, because it does say apprehend, and does murdering them count as apprehending them? I don't know if it does.
I don't know.
So it would you would willingly fail the scenario?
I could, but I don't see myself. Andrew doesn't see himself arresting these people.
Mm-hmm.
However, if Diamond Dave could, or
okay.
if
you're putting the ball in Lady Antonia's court, I have an idea with what she will do.
Yeah.
So if you're deferring to that, so you're basically just tapping out and saying what you want to have happen.
Yeah,
not
because
necessarily what you, the player, are committed to.
Yeah, basically,
Okay.
Originally I was intending to apprehend them, but I don't see it's happening with the drugs because I want to be honest. Because Harrington is just intensely scared right now.
Absolutely.
He is terrified and is willing to kill to get out of it.
Love it. Let's go to our final prompt on the unseen. Daniel, as his shift wraps up late in the night, Francis checks out the foyer and front desk to make sure everything is in order for the next shift when he discovers a note from the day manager dismissing Francis permanently from the staff. What does Francis do after reading the note?
He probably spits into the spittoon, but then he takes the inkwell and the ink pen on his way out, and as he goes by the picture, the portrait of the Texas governor, on the white beard, he draws like a goatee, a black goatee, and he puts angry eyebrows, and he puts little horns up in the top of his hair. And then he just pours the rest of the ink onto one of those richly upholstered couches.
Diamond Dave, as you are once more overseeing the crowd, wheels turning in your head, you hear footsteps approach. And for a moment, perhaps you believe it to be Lola coming over once again. But no, leaning up against the rail is Lady Antonia. She says, Mr. McMahan, I have a most curious affair with which I could benefit from your involvement.
Oh, it's dancing.
No.
I've not danced yet tonight.
As I understand it, you've been deputized by the Marshal of El Paso, correct?
Well, it's supposed to be a secret.
Well,
yeah.
It's not, and I know it. So therefore, let's move on. I have been informed that you are to apprehend the gentleman down there, the one that is Graves Senior. Yes, you're in on that plan.
And the two brothers over there.
And the two over there. All right, very good. Let me tell you how this is going to play out. I'm going to get them outside. You are going to make the formal arrest. We will take them to the jail, and that will be done with it. There will be no frivolity. There will be no additional theatrics. Do you understand?
My instructions, as per the marshal, was to have them tied up and intoxicated, have them knocked out, tied up in the basement downstairs.
Indeed. We're not doing that now. We're doing what I'm telling you to do.
I love your idea because it's got, I love your idea because it's got sass. It looks a lot better above board. Let's do it. I'm on board. Let's do it. I'll just have to make some signals, and then we'll get this show on the road, Lady Antonia. It's a great idea. Love it.
Daniel, please regale us with how the entirety of this unfolds. wrap up your involvement here. Yeah.
I think it's I think the men of the Graves family are under the impression that they are going home with the most beautiful dance hall girls, local celebrities in El Paso. And as they exit with with these women one-on-one, Deputy Wainwright and Diamond Dave are there with guns drawn and handcuff them one at a time. Deputy Wainwright is like about to smack him over the back of the head with like a pistol whip him, and Diamond Dave's like, whoa, we're gonna do this, like with our customer service hat on, Deputy. And then we just see him lined up and handcuffed and marched off to the jail.
Mother Ruth, would you kind to paint us a picture of what transpires in the church at Fort Bliss, the chapel?
Yeah, we'll keep it short and simple. I think it is a moment of Mother Ruth being led there by this rascal, this officer in charge. And she goes, "Now, sir, I do want there to be no misconceptions about what's about to happen in here." She closes the doors to the chapel and locks them. "You believe that you are being paid some recompense that you're owed. No, what this is, I'm going to need you to sit right down there. In the front pew, right in full view of an altar, there's probably a very plain crucifix and everything, that this is payback. This is repayment from all that sin that you have in your heart. So I'm going to need you right now to tell me, unbear yourself, let flow onto me everything about yourself right now. And we'll see if we can get your heart right with the Lord."
Is that where you want to end it?
And I think he's kind of like dumbfounded.
Mm-hmm.
And he just quietly sits. And we just see her take the stockings off. It's like connected stockings. They're not single stockings. She takes them off and she balls them up and puts them in his mouth. And then with a little bit of a flare of that navy blue gown skirt, then the camera will cut away. Yeah.
Graves, I owe you a clue with a complication.
Yes.
Do I do the insane thing?
Always. You
Okay.
know this. You know this
Okay.
is about me and yourself.
Okay. You're talking with this guy, and he at one point mentions being like, it's like, I mean, Mel's planning on heading up the mountain quite soon. I think she went out there earlier while I was making preparations, and he like kind of like gives like a little like low whistle and he says, I mean, I could hear her swearing even up from down here. It's like birdsong, beautiful, vulgar birdsong. And he says, but I've been hoping to, get the camera back in order. But, she's had me dredging around trying to find information on this whole Ghost Riders business, and I haven't been able to find hide nor hair of much around here. I am surprising that many soldiers don't want to talk to reporters about this whole matter, he says with a great deal of sarcasm. He said, I did manage to poke around the barracks earlier, found this under one of the beds. Don't tell anyone. And he reaches into the mule pack and sees that he snatched like an old photograph that he found, and he shows it to you, and the photograph shows the 4 Rangers, including Jimmy Pike, but there's a 5th person in there that you don't recognize, that you don't know anything about. This unknown 5th Ranger. There's never been any mention of this person before, but sure enough, they're in this old photograph of the three Ghost Riders and Jimmy Pike from when the former were alive. That's your formal clue, but here's your complication. What about this photograph tells you with grave certainty, pun intended, it was taken by a camera that should not be here? It should not be in this part of the world right now.
There is just the slightest bit of color in it. Like, there shouldn't be any color in these photographs, not real color. And it's almost like an oil slick behind these rangers. Just ever so slightly when the light hits it, when the moonlight hits it. And Grave knows exactly which camera took this.
I'm going to have you take a condition, which is hold on. I need to get the word up again.
Oh my god. Should have known.
Oh my god, hold on. I totally blanked on what I used this before. I'm sorry. Hold on.
No, you leave me in dramatic suspense.
I know. I'm pretty sure this was mentioned in White Mountain Rescue. Hold on. I know, I'm trying to.
I'm so excited.
Here, I'm going to type this in chat.
Okay.
Well, yeah, no, I thought about just having the condition be called the Whately camera, but, you know, wanting to pull from the weirdness of something mentioned in White Mountain Rescue, your condition, if you choose to take it, we can try spelling this correctly, is an omen of the Vrykalakas.
I'm taking it. You know I'm taking it, Alex. You know this is, how could I not?
And then, meanwhile, Andrew Harrington, when all is said and done, you find yourself stumbling back through the streets of El Paso towards the jail. And as you step inside, are you still in disguise?
Probably. It's not looking as a great of a disguise. More or less like I look like discount rack Del Sol. That hat was left in the sun for a little bit too long.
As you step inside the jail, you do see in the cell, as per usual, Del Sol standing there and just gives a low whistle and says, "Mama, doth thy mirror reflect a most vexing visage?" And then, quite unexpectedly, you hear off to the side of the room, "Quite so." You look over and you see Lady Antonia sitting there with a cup of tea, and the apprehended Graves is in another cell, who seem to be unconscious. They are sleeping, but you have, judging by the cups of tea that they have in their cells, some of which are lying discarded on the floor, you see that there might be more to the picture here. And Lady Antonia stands and says, "I had my suspicions, but now this is a most curious affair entirely. Come now, let's get out of hiding. We have much to discuss, Marshal." And that is the end of the night phase. go into the dawn. And before we jump to stars and wishes, let's go ahead and just go through the dawn phase proceedings. We will discuss how the reward for the side threat works next time. I'm just going to gloss over that for now because I want to double check my notes on it. But let's answer dawn questions. Everyone, you benefited from the question and a threat, so the first two are available. Mother Ruth, did you experience an echo in the night?
I did not, unfortunately.
Turn the other cheek.
I did. I would say I did. I said that I, instead of going off on this man for being presumptuous with my flirting, I went along with it and got something out of it instead. And that's the benefits of approaching something calmly.
Would you also say that triggered? Did you decide to not give a damn, turning your back on righteousness?
Yes, I had sex in a church.
Yeah,
Alex.
that's absolutely. Yeah, just wanted to hear you say it. B, you get the one from resolving threat. So Graves, experience an echo in the night.
I don't think so, no.
Did you punish a wayward soul by sending it back to the spirit realm?
No, I did not.
Did you take time to puzzle over the human condition?
I don't actually think so. I think
Okay.
we just had some events tonight.
Just some events. Diamond Dave, did you experience an echo in the night?
Yes, the Graves' dad looked like the governor.
Did you show a preference for the ostentatious over the ordinary?
I tried to with the Hennessy cognac that he got for Lady Antonia.
And did you show favor to those above you or contempt for those beneath you?
Definitely favor for those above me. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. You get all that. And Andrew, did you experience an echo in the night?
Yes, with the drunkard and me playing a drunkard.
Did you deliver a cold monologue about the cruelty of justice?
Yes, by referring to the biblical story of Cain and Abel to Lady Antonia.
Did you live up to the ideal of doing justice?
I would say I did the opposite.
I would say you did the opposite. So you can mark 4. And I believe we might have some advances on the table.
Yes.
So very nice. Think on that. Does anyone, I think it's just Daniel has a mask to resolve. Do you want to hold on to that now or do you want to resolve it now?
It's pretty quick because
right.
we're just introducing.
Yeah. Would you care to tell us what makes the Bootstrappers masks of the past so unique?
Because it's not his story. Instead, it's a story of this young woman called the Girl, very based on the explorer and the boy. And so we're looking at the story of this young woman. And so my first one is to narrate a flashback of her happy and blissful childhood. And we see a very small farm. It's like a subsistence level farm. They're not growing stuff to sell. They're growing stuff to eat. And it's on the edge of a big plantation. One side is a plantation and the other side is the Mississippi River. So it's right there between those two. And we see this young child and a whole bunch of kids are playing in the dirt as their parents are working hard and barefoot and almost in rags. But what makes her stand out, then we'll recognize her later, is she has this really unnatural color of blue eyes. It's just it's too ice blue. They're too light. Almost like you might think she was blonde. And we see this, and that's how we're introduced to her.
Very nice. Then in that case, let's go to stars and wishes.
Stars for the camera, Alex. That's a fun tie-in.
I wish I could be original and say that is from the previous El Paso game I ran during Ghostwriters. Fucking Ben Bonds made the Waitley camera appear in it, and I just saw it looming over me, and I'm like, I have to, or at least imply it, and it's not as directly, so it's in there now.
I'm obsessed. Lady Antonia fucking tickles me. Like, her and Discount Del Sol's conversation was delightful. Her and Diamond Dave's were delightful. Like, I love Lady Antonia. She's perfect. I would die for her. I love all your NPCs. I loved your voice for the cat. Believe he was a captain at Fort Bliss or sergeant. He was a sergeant. Yeah. Like, I always love your character voices. They delight me. Absolutely delight me. Great clip for this night phase. The perfect pacing for this. It was very quick, it felt very right. And it felt like some weird shit happened, and I'm very excited about this. I loved Discount Del Sol Chaotic. I love that choice. I loved to get to see you mimic other players at the table and their character voices. That's always very fun because now we've seen you do Daniel and Alex. And I love it. I love that you're like, no, I'm not going to be NPC. I'm an actual NPC. I'm going to be somebody that's like a real ass main character. That was a buck wild choice. That was a buck wild choice. I love that Andrew Harrington is a bad person. Delightful, a delightful, weird little chameleon man. What's wrong with him? What's wrong with him? I don't know, and I love it. Speaking of what's wrong with Diamond Dave, I love what you're doing. He's like, just, calling Antonia's plan like sassy was like really good. I love, like, Diamond Dave was like an NPC I was kind of ambivalent about. I'm like, okay, yeah, he's like, he's just a dude. He's just a dude who's kind of like a little bit of an asshole. And you've taken him and been like, no, we're gonna spend a lot of time with Diamond Dave now. And it's like, I really love it. He's weirdly likable. I think that's just a byproduct of you being Daniel and your characters being likable because you are. And it's just like, he's a fun little shit. He's like, I love his constant like deference to like Lady Antonia and the fucking mastermind, and I like that it has kind of stayed around, and him wanting to stay in the dance hall because like, no, it's Friday night, this is my business, and still making it plot relevant was perfect. That was delightful. Like, of course he would stay. Why the fuck would Diamond Dave leave? Why wouldn't he send us Flapjack instead? Of course he would. Jesus Christ, Flapjack. Love Flapjack, by the way, both of you. Mother Ruth, I'm so glad to see you're not pious anymore. I'm so glad to see our our favorite holy woman is back in business. She's doing her shit. I love that you chose to actually wear the dress. That was so great. The entire questioning of Flapjack was very fun, and just right in front of the altar. Right in front of the altar and making him confess is just
I want him to see what he's getting into.
It fucking tickles me.
Don't be a man. It's like, yeah. It's like with goth chicks. It's like, don't chase after goth chicks because you don't know what you're getting into. All right, buddy.
No.
You're gonna get overwhelmed. All right.
You're not ready for goth chicks, just like you're not ready for Mother Ruth. Like,
Stick with the Swifties. That's more of your,
yeah, exactly. Listen,
stay in that counterculture lane.
she's worth it. Mother Ruth is worth it. Okay. She's worth it. Just like most people can't handle her. She's too powerful. And so, yes, those are my stars. I'm very excited to see how this goes, just in general. Just, I love this. Stars all around. Everybody's so fucking good. Delicious.
I'll go next. A bunch of stuff which has already been said. So with Narr, I really liked your unseen with the Karen, like an old Western Karen, wanting to speak to the manager. I would have liked it if the guy had walked around and turned around and said, huh, but anyways, I like Graves being distracted by Mother Ruth because you guys had a plan and then it just went right out the window when Mother Ruth turned it on. And I really liked your telling us how you knew this picture shouldn't be here with color and the oil slick pattern, and mostly a big star for this god awful condition. We already know it's gonna be bad. And I'm taking it. Like, I'm sold. Wes, yes, unpious Sister Ruth is back, and it was great to have who I would have never guessed there would have been a scene with Mother Ruth and Flapjack, but here we are. And the scene with the dream catchers, or the image of the dream catchers over these soldiers bunks is pretty. I can see in my mind those slowly twisting. Chaotic, big night for Harrington. I've got two. I started off with, it's kind of cool that Harrington's not going to tell Graves about about arresting his family, and then it takes like this dark twist where like Graves is like gonna kill. I mean, Harrington's gonna kill Graves' family, and I just see Diamond Dave feeding their bodies to pigs. Right? Nobody will ever know. I guess Harrington. And then of course, big star for being back in disguise as Del Sol, and for Alex, Flapjack is in play now. The vulgar bird sings beautiful was a good line from the photographer, and a big star for just bringing in the Prism verse, and because it's been a while since we played White Mountain Rescue, and so when you bring stuff back, and with Lady Antonia being the glue so far, big star. Wishes, I don't know. I think for Diamond Dave, I think for the next day phase, he's definitely getting out of the bar. It's Saturday morning or however many days later. It's in the morning. It's not Friday, so he's gonna be out and about.
Star for Alex for picking up what I'm throwing down. I'm a professional menace, and I love him. A star for Mother Calvo for being on point with investigation, but also at the same time getting everyone distracted. I just love her. Star for Graves for being like it could have been really easy for you to pick up of like, what's the question? Did you take time to puzzle with the human condition with Mother Calvo? But like you just didn't. You're like, no, he would be into her. Star for Diamond Dave for just being ready to be deputized and ready to actually do justice, but more or less just do anything that anyone above him wants. Because it's just like he would have been down to murder. He's down to like getting people arrested. Like it's all fine. And like I know I rolled really well this session, but I still wanted to play into the fact of like, oh no, Andrew Harrington was caught unawares, it was drugged. That's an issue. And he's having a major meltdown. So like he is like showing off his hand, and well, it did resolve. But he's not going to be happy about the conversation that he's going to have with Lady Antonia next time, because like he's just a little bit of a goopy guy now. Because he's like, oh no, what have I done? And the fact that she can see this soul is just like, oh no, what do you know about this soul? So this is gonna be a fun conversation in which I make Alex roleplay 2 NPCs in the same scene.
It's like breathing for me. I'll throw out a couple stars real quick just to say star to Chaotix Del Sol impression, and the monologue you delivered as Del Sol was very entertaining. I thought I was tickled by that. As well as getting to see Mother Ruth back in action again, rubbing Ruth, raw hand Ruth, doing her usual lay on hands, and it was great. I am very excited by the prospect of what's going on in El Paso right now with the whole concept, not just in the Lady Antonia regard, but like incorporating like the Bootstrapper as Diamond Dave and the Red Rock. I continue to star the idea of playing like the Bootstrapper as a pre-existing side character because it widens, or it deepens, not widens. It really like focuses in on that more. And I got to see this really interesting angle of like the Bootstrapper of getting to be this kind of like proprietor of a location that we're very familiar with. So I just liked the night phase approach of just like the very Al Swearingen, like leaning up against the top railing, just kind of like watching things unfold. A mix of Cy Tolliver in there as well was very appealing. I had a fun time with that. Wishes. I'm definitely looking forward to some action-packed stuff that's going to be coming up. I think I know what the next threat is going to be. And obviously, I really want y'all to get the next mastermind clue. Now that there's nothing that's keeping Andrew from wanting to get it. Looking forward to some just in general role play scenes and vulnerable scenes betwixt ourselves. I feel like we were on hiatus for so long, and then we had our previous session, which was a great return to. And this is more of like a less frenetic night phase, and it was more of just kind of like, you know, getting the gears turning again. So I'm looking forward for like the momentum to pick back up and for us to be in like the real thick of that gothic western we found ourselves in. So yeah.
She has a great ass. Sorry, I was thinking about Ruth Calvo. Now today was a great section. Even for just like a dusk night dawn phase. I did want to speak. I did want to speak on Diamond Dave a little bit. I have some concerns that you might be doing too good of a job, Daniel. I think that what you're doing with Diamond Dave really speaks to like the potential depth for each of the side characters in this game based off of just a few descriptive lines and then a quote, but then also the room for like you to embody them, take the side character over and make it a character and add more depth to that. Because all in all, it's somewhat shallow descriptions, you would say, but it's good enough descriptions that you're able to pull and glean enough off what this character is off of just 2 to 3 sentences. That's the strength of the system. And so like what you're doing here, Daniel, is very cool to see a character that we probably wouldn't have any more context for than what was just within the corset threat. And you're giving so much more to it. And especially with and it's such a good choice of a playbook to do that with. I don't think every playbook could be done with that. I think maybe they could, but that one in particular is such a good one because of the Masks of the Past and how, like Alex said, it deepens us into the area, the setting, the lore, the characters, and everything. And so I think that's very cool. So kudos to you for that. Kudos to B for making death relatable at times. I think I would probably act the exact same way if my elderly coworker was throwing fucking shapes and yams at some Texas Ranger. So there that is. Good job for that. Also, just I love when you play your creepy little goth guys. More, I would say, support goths in your local community, and so that they don't get hated on by their family, much like Bartholomew Graves did. Shout out to that. Shout out to Chaotic. I typed on the side chat, in the sidebar in the chat. We got chaotic. We got flim-flammed. Wool pulled over our eyes, but beautiful. Talking about the Del Sol, disguising yourself as Del Sol. I don't trust Andrew Harrington as far as I can throw him, and I can still throw him pretty dang far, but I still don't trust him as much. And you prove that every day. Every time we play, you prove that, but you do it in very satisfying and narrative-focused ways. I love how bloodthirsty he is. He's terrifying. And Alex, excellent job with like set dressing, utilizing the Waitley camera, bringing us into the space about fucking like allowing us to have this kind of like space, like working with these like Texas Rangers and everything, and like trusting us to kind of like do stuff with these characters. And like Fort Bliss is such like I've seen it portrayed in such weird ways in other playthroughs of Ghost of El Paso, and this felt like such a satisfying way for it to be portrayed. And so like, thank you so much for that. Yeah, and my only wish is I know what comes next, and I hope that we're strong enough to make it. I know what's on the horizon.
Awesome. Any other stars or wishes? Then I will see you guys next time. Bye.